Hi everybody, welcome to this fourth lecture series of database management. In this particular lecture, we will talk about concepts of data model and we will also understand various data models available. The major database models that we are going to talk about are hierarchical model, network model and relational model. Now, first of all, let us understand what is data model. Basically, we are generating a lot of data, and every data or whatever data we have, we need to arrange it in such a way that we can extract it as and when we require. So, to efficiently extract and store the data appropriately, we use a particular database model, and there are several models that describe how to store and procedure to retrieve the models. Now, data model refers to the logical interrelationship and data flow between different data elements. It represents the way data is stored and retrieved. Data models help represent what data is required and what format is to be used for different business process. That means it talk about what data to be stored and in which format to be stored. Now, database models. So, in database model shows the logical structure of a database that include relationship and constraints, then determine how data can be stored and accessed. Individual database models are designed based on certain rules and concepts. Data models can be represented by an accompanying database diagram. Now we talk about types of database models. Database type models, there are different and several types available, and some of the important types are hierarchical database model, network model, relational model, object oriented database model, entity relationship model. Here, in this particular chapter or in this particular talk, we are going to cover three main different database models: hierarchical, network, and relational. And in next lecture, we will talk about ER model in detail. Fine. So let us start with hierarchical model. As you can see here, the hierarchical model represent the data in appropriate hierarchy as shown here in this particular example. The root or a parent node or the record represent the electronic. We have electronic materials available with us which can be categorized as television, portable electronics. In television again we have three types: tube, LCD, plasma. So here the data represent start from the parent node, go to the next level of child node, and then again to the next level of child node. Similarly here portable electronics, we have three categories: MP3 players, CD players, and two-way radios. These are three child node of portable electronics, which is a child node of electronics. Hierarchical model organizes data into tree-like structure as shown here in this particular example. Each record has a single parent or root. Next one is like if you look at the characteristics of hierarchical model, then hierarchical data model is the oldest type of the data model. It was developed by IBM in 1968. It organizes data in the tree-like structure. Hierarchical model contains nodes which are connected by branches. The topmost node is called a root node. If there are multiple nodes appear at the top level, then these can be called as root segments. Each node has exactly one parent node. One parent node may have many child nodes. Now next is network model. Network model, it is based on hierarchical model similar to that, but it allow many to many relationship between linked records. Model is constructed with sets of related records. Each set consists of one owner or parent record and one or more member or child records. For example, look at this. We have vendor. Okay. Now, how vendor is dealing with employees, because vendor under vendor certain employees are working. Vendor is dealing with his customers, and vendor is selling products. Now, how sales transaction occur? So when customer buy material from the vendor, then you have sell transactions. So this particular network model shows an example where we have relationship of many to many. Now let us talk about relational model, the third category. So first we saw was hierarchical, second was a network, this is relational model. The relational model was developed by EFT Code. He was a statistician and he developed this particular model in 1970. Two-dimensional entities which are consist of columns and rows. So it represents the data in form of two-dimensional entity where your rows represent records and your column represent attributes. So this is a table structure. The table structure itself is a two-dimensional entity, and this concept was given by the EFT Code in case of relational model. And he derived Code's rule, which is consist of 12 rules. So the model which follow this 12 rule is a relational based model. Each column here in two-dimensional structure is known as attribute of the entity. So for example, here we have student as one entity, and student entity contain three attributes: student ID, first name, last name. So student ID is the first attribute, first name is a second attribute, and last name is a third attribute. A particular attribute or combination of attribute can be chosen as a primary key to identify a unique record. For example, here if I want some information about Anthony, it is very much possible that in one particular class there may be 10 Anthony studying. So which Anthony? So if I use this student ID 48, using this particular student ID, I can extract a unique record, and this can be represented by some key. This is known as a key, a primary key, using which we can extract a unique record. Each row is also known as a tuple. So tuple is a name, is a technical name given to row, and attribute is a technical name given to the column. Now let us talk ahead about relational model and look at the characteristics. Data is represented in the form of table only. In case of relational model, deals only with the data, not with the physical structure. So the model is purely it is relevant to only the data. It has nothing to do with how it is or where in memory it is stored. It provides information regarding metadata. Metadata is data about the data. At the intersection of row and column, there will be only one value for the tuple. It provides a way to handle the queries with ease. So you have some query language using which you can extract this data or deal with the data. Now, we talk about object-oriented database model. This is also one of the model available. This object-oriented model is basically this model defines a database as a collection of objects or reusable software elements. As shown here, we have first object that is sales report, then it has some instances, and sales report object is connected with sales activity, that is customer, product information, etc. So there are several kinds of object-oriented databases like multimedia database, hypertext database, etc. available with us. Now, let us talk about comparison, how these three important models that we talk about, hierarchical database model, network data model, and relational model, how they are how they are similar and different from each other. So let us compare them. First of all, for hierarchical database model, it is the one of the most primitive method that was developed by IBM initially. Then came the network data model. So it organized records in the form of directed graphs, whereas in relational model, it organizes records in the form of two-dimensional structure, which is also known as a table, and relationship between tables are set using common fields. Now, second similarity or difference is use tree structure to organize the record in case of hierarchical data model. Whereas in network model, the records are organized in form of directed graphs. Whereas in relational model, it organizes records in the form of tables. In hierarchical database model, it implement one-to-one and one-to-many relationship. Whereas in case of network data model, implementation of one-to-one and one-to-many is possible. It also implement many-to-many relationship, which cannot be represented in case of hierarchical model. In relational data model, implementation of one-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-many relationship is possible. Next is insertion anomaly exists in hierarchical database model. That means child node cannot be inserted without the parent node. Whereas in case of network and relational model, no insertion anomaly is there. Similarly, deletion anomaly exists in case of hierarchical data model. That means it is difficult to delete the parent node. You cannot remove the parent node. Whereas in case of network data model and relational data model, no such deletion anomaly exists. Finally, if you look at the next one, this model, that is hierarchical database model, lacks data independence. Whereas in case of network data model, partial data independence is possible, whereas in relational model, it provides data independence 100% fully. It use the hierarchical database model, it use to access the data which is complex and asymmetric. So if your data is a complex data and asymmetric data, this hierarchical model or hierarchical data model structure is more useful and relevant. Whereas in case of network data model, it is used to access the data which is again complex and symmetric. Whereas in case of hierarchical, complex and asymmetric data. Similarly, in relational model also, if the data is in complex and symmetric form, it is ideally it can be ideally used. So that was about these three data models, and in next coming lesson, next lecture, we will talk about ER model and understand the ER model, how it can be used, what are the significance of ER model, and how ER models can be drawn. So see you soon in next lecture. Have a wonderful day. Till then, take care. Thank you very much.